In the quiet hours of twilight, when the world settles into a hush, let us open our hearts to a narrative of enlightenment and benevolence under the watchful eyes of the Almighty. May this account calm our thoughts and usher us into a tranquil rest, embraced in the comfort of God's unfailing love. Today's message comes from the book Jesus in the Home by Neio, Lucio, psychographed by the medium Francisco Xavier. Chapter 8: The Wise Prince. The disciples were discussing the most appropriate way to act before the Almighty when the kind-hearted master told the following tale. There was once a king who ruled over a vast realm. Wanting to broaden his sons' minds in order to bestow a worthy inheritance on them, he took them to one of his huge domains, lush green and abundant valleys, and entrusted each of them with a particular plantation which they were to care for and cultivate with diligent work. Their father wanted them to have the crown of understanding, love, and wisdom, which they could attain only through education and work. And since he was to give them transitory material, he set an amount of time for their constructions that would be vital for their important tasks later on. He did this because the valley was subject to changes, and a time would come when a devastating storm would visit the region, and only those who had built a sturdy shelter would be safe. Now, as soon as the king left, his young sons, along with the many clans accompanying them, lazed around for long periods of time, seduced by the beauty of the sun-drenched plains. When they did get up to work, they indulged in long discussions on the laws of solidarity, justice, and defense, with each of them demanding special deference from the others. Almost no one was concerned about enforcing the rules and regulations that had been established by the central government. Concerned about their personal comfort, most of the princes and their cronies were meticulous in finding subtle ways to evade, without causing a scandal, the principles to which they had sworn to obey and respect. Trying to deceive their magnanimous father through mere words of praise, instead of honoring him with beneficial work, they restricted themselves to complex disputes regarding the king's personal issues. They wasted years on end arguing about his personal appearance. Some of them insisted that his face was white as a lily, while others insisted that it was tan, like that of many slaves from Sidon. Many said that he had a giant body and a lot of them insisted that he was a star-crowned angel. The verbal confrontations increased in number. Time slowly ticked away, and endlessly reproducing, ravaging insects invaded the land, wiping out a sizable part of their invaluable resources. Pollutants came down from nearby mountain ranges and turned the area into a wasteland. Meanwhile, completely distracted from their basic obligations, the thoughtless princes were constantly snared in foolish quarrels. However, there was one well-informed son who took note of his father's decrees and strove to uphold them. He never forgot the king's advice, and whenever possible, he would offer it to his closest friends. He spent many hours, to which he was entitled by law to use for rest, building a sturdy shelter that would assure him peace of mind in the future, and sowing beauty and happiness around the plantation that his father had loaned him. And so, when the renewing and violent storm finally appeared, the wise prince, who had loved the king and had zealously and devotedly served him by spreading his liberating lessons out of pure fraternity, and by fulfilling his fair and kind will through daily work by means of the constructive afflictions of his soul and the sweat of his brow, was naturally sheltered in a sanctuary of peace and safety that his squabbling brothers were unable to find. A gentle silence hung over the simple room. After a few minutes, the master set his clear eyes on the small group and concluded, "Those who spend too much time analyzing things without demonstrating the spirit of service can easily become addicted to talking too much. But none will feel remorse for having taught the good and for having worked with their own hands in the name of the Heavenly Father on the blessed pathway of life." As Jesus' story draws to a close, let us carry its lessons in our heart, trusting in the Lord's plan for us. May the peace of God's love envelop us, guiding us into a restful sleep and awakening us to a new day filled with hope, faith, and boundless opportunities to serve with kindness. Good night, and may blessings be upon you in your journey towards the light of divine wisdom. So be it.